Hello everybody, Claudia Boleyn here, and today I'm making a video about the misconceptions of feminism online.
Hi, I'm Mike. I made a resolution to be more spontaneous, and then you appeared in my related videos. Extraordinarily bad luck.
Now, I know that a lot of people come to my channel because they are anti-feminist or they just hate feminism.
Do they? Why, where are you advertising it?
And I know this because often if I post a video or if I post an entry on my blog about feminism, I'll get a lot of abuse and negative comments and dislikes.
For all you know, it's your subscribers doing that. They don't come to your channel because they hate feminism. They come to your channel because they hate you. Don't marginalise yourself.
Before people have even had a chance to look at the video, like, there's no way that they could have seen the video or read the post.
You mean they disliked the video in less than the video length after the upload time? I don't think I've ever had a video disliked in less than 13 minutes after uploading. Then again, I'm not as popular as you. But see, when I read the Bible, I got as far as, in the beginning, God, before I disliked the book as the accurate representation of reality that it was purported to be. Was I right to do that? Or am I unqualified to come back with a "this is bullshit" until I've read each and every last big at?
They've just heard the word feminism and they've just switched off.
Yeah, that might have happened. A lot of people switch off when you say nigger, because some words are associated with quite extraordinary amounts of bigotry, and using them is usually a sign that a very awkward and counterproductive conversation is about to happen.
And they've decided that they're anti it.
No, it's not just anti-feminists who switch off. Everyone switches off when they hear the word feminism. Anti-feminists switch off their inhibitions. Feminists switch off their conscience. Just like if you shout nigger in a crowded place, most people will think there's a racist here, but a small handful of people will think there's a nigger here.
So I really would like, if you are here on my channel because you hate feminism, to please listen to this video.
Oh, well, I don't hate feminism. I just don't believe in God. With me so far?
Because I'm going to be talking about the misconceptions about feminism and what feminism actually is.
Oh, thank fuck for that. Finally, a feminist who's going to tell me what feminism actually is. So far, all any feminist has done is tell me what they think it is. Finally, I can escape this torpid wasteland of interpretations and actually hear some objective truth. Don't let me down, Claudia.
Because I feel like the media really does portray us in this really negative way, which is not surprising because we do live in a patriarchal culture.
Aha! Then you are totally on board with what I mean by I don't believe in God.
And they don't particularly want to promote feminism because that would be to their detriment.
Sure. You see, because if there are two political candidates, candidate A says, I think feminism is a good thing, candidate B says, I think feminism is a bad thing, then who can doubt? Candidate B will be lifted triumphantly from his throne and paraded around the town square like a beloved colossus, and totally not omni blacklisted overnight and left with the seat they wouldn't give Nick Griffin's dog. Horrific plate of bullshit there, Claudia. You don't hear either political party promoting feminism because there is no need for either political party to promote feminism. For the same reason, there is no need for Coke or Pepsi to promote sugar.
But I think it is important that you listen to what actual feminists say about feminism because there's so much misinformation flying around about feminists.
Ask a feminist about feminism. You won't get any misinformation at all on what feminism is. Because there's no such thing as misinformation on what a feminist is, as long as it's coming from a feminist. Just like there's no such thing as accurate information about feminism, as long as it's coming from someone who's not 100% positive about it.
Like, on my videos about feminism, I will have, like, so many comments that think they're arguing with me and what I'm saying in the video, but they're literally agreeing with me in different words.
That's a hell of a good move. I don't know how to argue with that. But I'll try. I disagree with you. Oh, I agree with you. Oh, fuck, how did you do that?
And they just haven't listened to what I'm saying and they've just switched off at the word feminist.
Sorry, force of habit.
And actually, we probably share a lot of views, so please give this a watch and reassess what you think about feminism, because it's really not what the media likes to portray, and we're really not a hate group.
You are the media. So you're not what you're saying you are. Is this me agreeing with that? Help me out here.
So the first misconception about feminism is that to be a feminist, you have to be a big, fat, hairy lesbian.
Yes, I have heard this misconception time and time again, but only ever from feminists. And only ever as the first bloody entry in their list of straw feminist properties. For some bizarre reason, the first and foremost thing feminists wish to talk about is their appearance.
Now I'm going to stop right here and just say, first of all, some of us are fat, some of us are hairy, some of us are lesbians. There's nothing wrong with that. So if you're using that as something that, you know, you're trying to say that's a bad thing about feminism, then you're the one with the problem, because, I mean, seriously, there's nothing wrong with any of those things, and it is frustrating when people use that and they say, oh, I don't want to be labelled as a feminist because I'm not like a hairy lesbian or something.
I couldn't agree more. Now, can we get to the innocent prisoners and the mutilated dicks and the epidemic of fatherless children? Because those are my personal favourite misconceptions about feminism.
I mean, that's really offensive to queer women. I'm a queer woman. I'm not a lesbian, but I am a queer woman.
How queer?
And yeah, I'm a feminist. Sometimes I'm hairy, sometimes I don't shave my legs, and sometimes I look like Chewbacca. But, you know, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. As Marina said, the goddess Marina, life ain't a fucking Nair commercial.
You are minuscule. You will never look like Chewbacca. Gizmo, maybe?
Misconception about feminism number 2 is that feminists hate men. False, 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 false. Feminists don't hate men.
True. Feminists do hate men. Notice neither of us said all feminists there, just feminists. Hence, we both just made equally true statements.
What feminists hate as a collective is the patriarchy. Now,
Calling timestamp 141.
we're really not a hate group. What feminists hate as a collective is the patriarchy. We're really not a hate group. What feminists hate as a collective is the patriarchy. We're really not a hate group.
I'm starting to see why little girls like playing with these things. They're adorable. Go on, tell me what God is.
Patriarchy is a system of oppression and control which is upheld by men and privileges men over women. The patriarchy also wants us to adhere to strict gender roles, so it'll state that there are only 2 genders.
Oh, so science.
And that women should be submissive and passive and be sort of caretakers and look after children.
Oh, so feminism?
And that men should be assertive and dominant and violent and go out and do all the real gritty stuff.
Okay, so it's traditionalism you're talking about. And not to go to grade 8 on you, but that's the same as feminism.
Obviously, feminists are opposed to that. A lot of people are opposed to that because that's a really dangerous way of thinking.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy.
So feminists don't hate men because they are men. However, feminists do have a dislike and hatred for men that go out of their way to actually perpetuate the patriarchy.
You even said dislike there. You could have swanned out the gate with dislike, but you had to say hate as well, didn't you? You had to go back to the sparkler, Claudia. It's like calling timestamps 141 and 321.
We're really not a hate group. Feminists do have a dislike and hatred for men. We're really not a hate group. Feminists do have a dislike and hatred for men that go out of their way to actually perpetuate the patriarchy.
Not rapists, mind you. You just hate men who perpetuate traditionalism and feminism. I mean, I'm not fond of their methodologies myself, and I wouldn't say I hate them. I mean, maybe I do. I just wouldn't say it, because I've got some self-control.
But there is such like a straw man thing about this. I mean, like, the way they portray us in the media as just hating a man on sight, like, oh, you're a man, I hate you. It's rubbish, because it doesn't work like that.
We don't hate you just because you're a man. We hate you because you're a stereotype of a man. Not quite sure where the stereotype came from, but...
If you're a man who's a genuinely decent human being and is you know, trying to help us and will call out bigotry if you see it, then we're going to have no problem with you, obviously.
Oh, okay. I call bigotry. Am I in the club?
The problem is that there are, unfortunately, a lot of men that don't challenge the patriarchy and leave us to all this bullshit. And yeah, we have a lot of resentment towards them, and I think that's fair enough. I think that the people who are oppressing us, when they have the power to help, I think we have a right to be a bit resentful of.
We get to hate you if you're a stereotype, and we get to resent you even if you're not a stereotype. Because of the existence of stereotypes. That we totally didn't come up with.
So yeah, there are feminists that hate certain men, but it's not a case of like, you're a man and I hate you. It's really not that at all. So really, that is a complete stereotype that the media has just dreamt up. If you're a man and you're a genuinely good human being, then feminists aren't going to hate you. They're just not.
Gotcha. So just don't be a genuinely bad human being. I'll see if I can manage it, but might I ask who's on the judging panel as to what a good human being is? I mean, in the tragic event of that human being being a man.
Misconception about feminists number 3. Feminists don't care about men. Now, although the aim of feminism is liberation from patriarchy for everyone, and liberation for women especially,
Pigs are more equal! Pigs are more equal!
and to abolish gender roles which are harmful to all people.
Remember that at all times, people. Feminism speaks for all people. But pigs are more equal!
Feminists do care about men, still.
Oh, still? Good. When's the shutdown scheduled? Just out of interest?
Now, our main priority is women, simply because women have the worst deal at the moment. Now, that makes perfect sense if you think about it.
Oh, does it? Excellent. Explain to me how women have the worst deal.
It's like if I had money to spare and there was a homeless man sitting on the street and there was a rich banker on one side of me and a homeless man on the other, obviously I'm going to give that money to the homeless man because he's the one that needs it. That doesn't mean that I'm being unfair to the rich man, it just means that I'm using the resources and giving them to the person that needs it, and that's why feminism focuses mainly on women.
You could have said a homeless woman. That analogy did nothing whatsoever to explain how or why women have it worse, but you could have at least gelled the imagery by saying a homeless woman and a male banker instead of a homeless man. But the concept of a homeless woman didn't even enter your imagination. That's because at least 90% of the homeless are male. Which kind of shits on your point of it, doesn't it?
However, in abolishing gender roles, we're also getting rid of a load of shit that happens to men.
Then why are you still here?
So although it's not about men, and I have to stress it really isn't about men as a focus, it does help men too.
Please, how? Please. Please, please, how?
The patriarchy says that men that show emotion are weak, or men that are effeminate are weak.
Sorry to keep reminding you, but I don't believe in God. You need to show me this patriarchy of yours. Can it be disproved? Is it falsifiable? And are you aware of the protocol for dealing with an entity whose existence is unfalsifiable?
Basically, men that display traits which liken them to women in the traditional sense are basically looked down on.
Yes, men prefer women who aren't like men, and that's patriarchy. Women prefer men who aren't like women, and that is also patriarchy.
And it's also a major reason that homophobia is a thing. I think a lot of gay men get taken the piss out of this because they're like assumed to be more effeminate, which actually is really rubbish to me. It's absolute rubbish, because surely having 2 men in a relationship makes it more manly. But anyway, no, the patriarchy doesn't believe that.
Okay, if you're on speaking terms with this patriarchy enough to tell me what it believes, you must be able to point to it. Is there an oracle somewhere?
They think that it makes someone more effeminate. So men will be punished for things they do which make them seem feminine.
Like having sex with a woman. We get punished up the shitter for that one.
If we go with the whole traditional feminine thing. So basically getting rid of the patriarchy and the gender roles frees men from that, and it means men are more open to be free with their emotions.
Watch my channel, young lady. I do not need feminism to help me show my emotions. Unless I'm at a photo shoot and I'm requested to do anger, then it really, really helps.
And it just basically makes life easier for everyone, and it means we can go in and out of different gender roles, and we can just be who we are as human and just be free from these horrible boxes. Surely that's a benefit to everybody.
But especially women. Pigs are more equal!
Misconception about feminists number 4. Feminists think all men are rapists. This is so false, it's unreal.
Ah, there's our old friend, the qualifier all. See it? The truth is, Claudia, it's not that all feminists think all men are rapists. It's not even necessarily that feminists think all men are rapists. It's that feminists think men are rapists. Only fuzzy logic can save you from these persistent insistences that you speak for feminists and what feminism is. This is what feminists are generally like. Well, fuzzy logic is in my utility belt too, and feminists think men are rapists. That is true, Claudia. So true, it's real.
Right, what feminists believe is that anybody of any gender can be a rapist, basically. So a woman can rape a man.
Well, it's fucking excellent to hear that feminists believe that, Claudia. Perhaps they could convince our judges and politicians of it. Because they appear to be in the dark. It'll be tricky, given how many of them are feminists, and this lands you in something of a paradoxical pickle now, doesn't it?
A man can rape a woman, someone who isn't either of those genders can rape someone who isn't either of those genders.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
It just, anyone can be a rapist, so it's not just men. However, we do have to acknowledge that the vast amount of rape that does happen is done by men, and it's a sad fact, but it's true, and erasing that isn't going to help anybody.
What you just did, Claudia, was erase the female rapists from your conscience. And I have to wonder who that is supposed to be helping.
However, feminists believe in the humanity of men. So I hear a lot of people when, rape cases come on the news or something, and they'll say, boys will be boys. Or they will say that a woman wearing provocative clothing around a man is like a person covered in meat around a shark. Now, feminists actually believe that men are not animals.
Oh, well, they are. So are women. Sorry, deal with it.
We believe that men are just as intelligent and rational as women, and that men should be held accountable for their actions the same as everyone else. So we actually don't believe that men are animals that are incapable of raping someone who is in front of them naked. So we would argue that men should be held accountable same as everyone else.
We don't treat men like animals. We hate them and we call them all rapists, but the difference is we forgive animals for their mistakes.
Now, the people who are saying boys will be boys and that men can't help it, surely they're the people who are anti-men, because they're trying to make out that men can't help raping people. Okay,
I agree boys will be boys is a rather silly sort of tautology, but it's typically used by parents to sort of whimsy away the inexplicable things that very young boys do. It's not an idiom traditionally linked to rape apologia. And if you don't mind me saying so, I would not consider it anti-men to refer to a boy as a boy. But thanks for your input.
I mean, and that's absolute nonsense, because men can be rational, same as women. Men don't have to rape other people.
Oh, we don't have to? That's a load off my mind. Got a splitting headache today.
So yeah, basically, feminists believe that all people should be held accountable for their actions, that not just men are rapists, although the majority of rape is, it's performed by men.
You seem almost disappointed.
Misconception about feminists number 5. Feminists don't have a sense of humour. That is so untrue. I have a sense of humour. A lot of the feminists I know have very good senses of humour. We just don't particularly like jokes
I'll stop you there.
that make fun of oppressed groups and that bully them. Groups that are marginalised don't need that kind of shit thrown on them.
Ah, so it's status conflict that you don't like. It's the dynamics between protagonist and antagonist. Now, in the comedy scene, we call that not having a sense of humour.
It is possible to laugh at a joke that isn't offensive to a minority group. It is actually possible.
Yes. But in a world where you, personally and arbitrarily, get to decide who is an oppressed minority, it becomes not actually possible to laugh at anything. Except, of course, all those rapists you hate.
So that's the kind of humour we're into.
No. That's the kind of humour you're not into. You haven't told me what kind of... I mean, a joke would be helpful here.
Also, the whole point of satire is to be showing how ludicrous the system is at the top. So when people try and say that they're using satire, but really they're taking it out on the people at the bottom, that's not really satire, and it's really not that smart, because they're just doing what society's doing anyway.
No, wrong. Not just neutral wrong, topsy-turvy wrong. If anything, tragedy is about the ludicrousness at the top among the greater people. Comedy is about the ludicrousness at the bottom among the less people. And satire is linked to... satire is like a goat thing. You know, and tragedy means goats. These are all hangovers from... sort of formed in ancient Greek theatre. It's all very boring, but trust me, fucking wrong. Completely and utterly wrong.
So yeah, we don't find that particularly funny. But there are a lot of feminist comedians out there if you only look, and some of us are really quite funny. So yeah, that's a big misconception.
Some of us? Are you a feminist comedian? Well, for heaven's sake, why haven't you given us any jokes? Oh, that's right, because you're a feminist comedian.
Misconception about feminists number 6. Feminists have penis envy. Right, I'm going to stop this one right there, because something that you need to know is that a lot of feminists do actually have penises. So that whole argument is really, really sexist and bad. And also, no, those of us that don't have penises don't have penis envy. And those of us that do have penises wouldn't need to have penis envy because they've already got penises. And it's really not about that particular part of the body at all. It's about human rights and liberation from the patriarchy. So I don't know where that's come from, but that's complete nonsense.
His name's Sigmund Freud. No one actually believes a word he said. He was a nutjob.
Misconception about feminists number 7. Feminists want a matriarchy. No, this is not true. We don't want a matriarchy.
We don't want a matriarchy. We just really, really hate patriarchy. And we don't quite know what it is, but it's got something to do with men.
Okay, admittedly, I think we couldn't really get much worse than a patriarchy, and I think a matriarchy would be a step up from that.
Called it.
But ideally what we're going for is liberation from gender roles, and basically we want a society which is equal and which is fair, and we don't just want equality within a patriarchy. We want better than that. We want liberation from the patriarchy. We want people, men and women, and people who don't identify as either men or women. We want everybody to be able to do what they want and be who they want to be and not be restricted by gender roles and harmful ideas about them. We just want it to be liberated and free and healthy and nice. And what is so wrong with that? There really isn't anything wrong with that. So
No, there's nothing wrong with that. It's called being a person. What's wrong with it is why you would instead call it being a feminist.
No, we're not actually going for the matriarchy. That's something that a lot of people seem to be quite afraid of, that we're going for the matriarchy. We're not going for that, although I have to admit it would be quite fun.
I imagine a matriarchy would be fun for you. But you're not going for a matriarchy because nothing counts as a matriarchy, no matter what happens. So you could kill 90% of the men and you still won't be having enough fun.
Misconception about feminists number 8. Feminists are a hive mind. No, not true.
Oh, hell no. I can answer that one for you. That's exactly one word too long. There's no mind, it's just a hive.
There are loads of different types of feminists out there. There are loads of different feminist schools of thought.
And I speak for all of them.
I mean, there's lib femmes, rad femmes, there's intersectional feminists, womanists, there's people who don't identify as any of those, there are people who have their own sort of schools of thought with feminism. There's loads of different types of feminists, so we're definitely not hive mind. So when people say that they make a big generalisation about feminists, it makes no sense because there's so many different feminists and different types of thought.
Each and every one of your rebuttals has been a big generalisation about feminism. How are you doing this? How?
However, we do all share the view that the patriarchy is wrong and we want liberation from that. So we are sort of a collective in that sense. But there are loads of different avenues within that, so no, we're not a hive mind. Misconception about feminists, number 9. Feminists are like the Nazis.
Let me guess. This is just so not true. Feminists are not like Nazis. Some feminists are like Nazis, but you can't say feminists are like Nazis.
Please, please, please don't say that. Feminists have fought no wars, we don't kill people, we don't maim, we've never done any of that kind of stuff.
No, because that would involve effort. Hashtag kill all men.
Like, what you've got to remember when you use that argument is, first of all, it's incredibly insulting to people who were actual victims of the Nazis. I mean, it's a horrible thing to say.
No, it's incredibly insulting to you. That's the point. Deal with it.
And also, the Nazis actually oppressed and hurt a lot of people from this group.
From what group?
I mean, I'm a queer feminist, and the Nazis would have hated me.
Okay. The Nazis hated just about every motherfucker on the planet, except queer women, mate. The Nazis would have passed you around like an ashtray.
I mean, they killed people from my community, so please don't try and associate me with the Nazis, and please don't try and associate my sisters with the Nazis. It's awful.
You've got sisters too? Dude, you'd have been famous.
Also, just as a side note, the Nazis were actually quite patriarchal. They believed that a woman should stick to her gender roles and a man should stick to his gender roles.
That's not patriarchal, that's traditionalism. You can tell because you mentioned both genders there. I mean, 2 genders. The original 2 flavours of gender, before the monster-raving loony party moved in.
So it's really not a very good comparison, and it's really disrespectful as well, so please don't use that.
Thank you for asking nicely, you feminazi.
Misconception about feminists, number 10. Feminists are currently plotting to overthrow national governments and instead create a matriarchy, installing Laverne Cox as the supreme queen of everyone and everything on the throne of liberation. Actually, that's not a misconception, that's totally true. Yeah, you got me there.
Oh, that was the joke, wasn't it? Oh, you just cute as a button. You can come over to my house and fuck my sister.
Thank you for watching this video about the misconceptions of feminism. I hope it's made you think again about feminism and your hatred for it if you hate it, and if you're a feminist, I hope it has given you new strength so you can go out there and crush the patriarchy like the badass person you are. Yeah, thank you for watching this. Loads of love. Bye!
Bye. Again, I'm glad you asked nicely when you asked me not to say these things. So I'll return the favour. Please don't say any of these things again. Oh, but can you do one thing for me, Claudia? File a DMCA against me? I'll get thousands of subscribers overnight. Goodbye and fuck right.